What's up, everybody? Welcome back. I am Ryan Kieran. That is Keegan Stiefel, and that is Ryan Spagnoli. Spags, welcome back after a week off.
Yeah, I needed it. I got some sunshine. But yeah, I'm happy to be back. It's crunch time now. Eight days out, if we can believe it.
So we're doing it a little bit different tonight. We've been doing round 1, 2-round mock drafts the past 8 weeks now. Now that we're really getting into crunch time, the last 2 that we're going to do this week and next week are going to be Patriots centric. So tonight we're doing 7 rounds. We're only picking for the Patriots. We're not doing any trades tonight. Next week we'll be doing trades. Tonight we're finishing off our position group highlights with the running backs. So we'll be talking about all of the top guys, and then as we get later on, we'll kind of pick the guys that interest us to talk about a little bit more. So it might be a bit of a quicker show tonight. We'll see how this goes. Again, it's a new format, so it might go quick, might take a little bit longer. We'll see. But no picker wheel tonight, so we can get right into it. Again, we're only picking for the Patriots, and we're not making trades, even though we're technically allowed to through the Draft Network. So we're just going to start it, and the picks are going to fly here, and then we'll kind of talk about it, and we'll get right into the 15th overall pick. So you can see it's going to go pretty quick. So once we get to a Patriots pick, we'll kind of review how the picks went. We got a trade offer, and I'm just going to decline it. So draft starts off. Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields goes second, which all of us would be making, but that's not obviously what we expect to happen. Zach Wilson goes 3, so that top 3 kind of stays how it should. Penei Sewell goes 4 to the Falcons. Jamar Chase to the Bengals. Jalen Waddle to the Dolphins. Patrick Surtain to the Lions. I kind of like this because we didn't really ever go defense for the Lions too often, but that's kind of my gut right now is that's what they're going to end up doing on draft night.
The first 8 picks, all the way up till 14, really, I think are pretty reasonable, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it kind of feels like the way it should go, not the way it's going to, because,
Right.
New York's kind of dead set on Wilson, but it feels the way I think all the rest of us would go if we were doing it.
Yeah, if you weren't allowed to trade this, maybe some variance in like a wide receiver going to the Lions, which would, kick probably a corner to the Eagles, that type of stuff a little bit differently. But yeah, this is a pretty reasonable one so far. We've been making these picks a lot, but I like both of these fits. These are 2 guys that I would love to see one on the board for the Patriots in case they wanted to go with a boring pick. These are guys that I could live with if they wanted to go boring. But obviously they go right before us here. So we're kind of left in an interesting spot where we have the last of the 5 quarterbacks on the board. Micah Parsons, Caleb Farley, a lot of names that we've talked about, throughout this. Where are you guys leaning initially? Keegan, I'll let you start.
So it's a no on Jalen Phillips. We've had this conversation off my draft board. I think he's probably the best player available, but it's a tough spot. And then you've got another guy who's probably could be argued as the best player available in Caleb Farley, but with the injuries, the back injury, stuff like that, a lot of people won't have him on their board. And then I look at Micah Parsons and all the off-field stuff and the stuff that's come out, and the more you read into it, the further away you get from him. So even though I've been team anti-Mac Jones at 15 the entire time, I think I would take Mac Jones here.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's Mac or and like you said about Parsons, I still think that's a typical pick that they would make, right? Get him in the building, see if you can kind of mold him into the quote unquote Patriot way. I think that's a really good player to be tough to pass up on. But another guy too, Zeven Collins. I've heard a lot of great things about him. A lot of people have him as the top linebacker in the draft. This is where it gets interesting because I think if all that smoke about San Francisco and Mac Jones is true, Mac Jones is probably going to be there at 15. And I think teams like Washington will probably be trying to move up to get him. Maybe a Pittsburgh, even like a New Orleans, trying to come down and get him. This should tell you a lot about what they think of their quarterbacks currently on the roster if they were to pass on them. But I made this pick in the SB Nation mock draft with all the writers across the across the league, and I went Mac Jones simply because I think the value's smart there. It makes sense for them. It really does. Whether you think it or whether you believe it, I think it'd be tough for them to pass up. But I'm leaning Mac or Zaven Collins here at 15. I think that's a pretty good pick as well.
All right. It sounds like we're leaning towards Mac. I would like just 90 seconds to try to sway you on 2 different guys here. Zaven Collins is my first one. It's linebacker is still long-term linebacker is in need. Short-term help, they could still use one more person to come in and take snaps this year. It's
and that's
not
your
starter.
Dante Hightower replacement.
Right,
Not to cut you off, right? Like
exactly. And we talked about it on linebacker week. Micah Parsons on the field is still linebacker 1, but Zaven Collins is like a half step behind him for me. Baron Browning's like not even a full step behind Parsons either, but Collins would be my linebacker 2. And it comes down to one, everyone knows I'm still pretty high on Cam. Everyone knows I'm pretty low on Mac Jones. I'm okay, as Golden I just said, if you pass on Jones, he becomes a stud, that'll absolutely suck. So that's where you kind of trust your evaluation. If you don't think that Mac Jones is a stud, you don't take him here just in case he might be. That's how you end up with bad quarterbacks. Mitch Trubisky. That's how you end up trading up for Mitch Trubisky, bidding against no one. So that's my argument for passing on Mac Jones. My argument for Zaven Collins is that, again, you still need linebacker snaps for this year. You still need a Dante Hightower replacement long term. Zaven Collins is probably the best Patriots linebacker fit in the draft, and he's just overall a beast. My other option would be, of course, Rashad Bateman. Wide receiver still in need. He can, with the tight ends in place, he can slowly work his way into the offense. You have veteran, capable wide receivers. Jacoby Myers, Nikhil is still on the roster. Still to be determined if he's capable, but you can ease him in year 1, or you can, if he hits the ground running, there's that role for him to become wide receiver 1 by the end of the year.
I just have a tough time too with the receiver and thinking in terms of what they're thinking. Like if you think about how their targets get shared, you have 2 tight ends who are going to demand, they're going to get a fair share of the targets. You also have James White back, right? You went out and spent money on Kendrick Bourne, who I think is probably going to be the man in the slot now that Edelman has officially retired.
Yeah, I completely forgot the wide receiver signings when I was mentioning.
Yeah, right. No, and I'm not saying that they wouldn't go this route. I just think it can also sway them to doing it because, you know what I mean? Like there's not so much of a need there year 1 for production like you needed from N'Keal Harry when you were desperate for a playmaker there. I just think there's a lot of targets to be shared, and obviously the tight ends, White, and the 2 receivers. I think that's pretty competent. But Bateman's like a Justin Jefferson. I think he's going to be that type of pick where he goes late 1, and people are like, "How the hell did this guy go this late?"
Yep, and I mean, I've been singing his praises since week 2 on this draft. It comes up on the show. I mean, it comes up every single time. And yeah, so I did completely forget to mention the Bourne Aguilar signings, of course, when we were talking about wide receiver snaps. But again, if Bateman hits the ground running, neither of them is stopping him from becoming wide receiver 1 before the end of the year. It's just, like you said, it gives you that cushion of, N'Keal Harry had to come in and contribute right away, even though he clearly wasn't ready. That's not something that would have to happen here. And just responding to Studio Jim here, you think that Mac Jones is good, which is fine. I disagree, but that's, we haven't seen him play in the NFL.
You would talk yourself into a draft night, though.
I absolutely would. Yeah, I absolutely would.
I think too, if they're willing to draft, whether they move up and get one, whether they sit at 15 and get one, whether they move back and get one, if they're willing to do this, they haven't done it since Bledsoe. Belichick's never done it, never really had to, obviously. Right. I think if they're that aggressive in trying to get a quarterback, I think you have to trust their evaluation that that's the right guy.
I agree.
Everyone would have to be on board with it, whether it's Trey Lance, Justin Fields, or Mac Jones. Or Davis Mills, really.
So I agree.
Not
with
Davis
that.
Mills.
Absolutely Davis Mills.
I just threw that out there.
But where we're obviously we don't know how they feel about Mac Jones right now. So I'm going off of how I feel about him, and that's if he ends up good, it's okay. I'm not going to feel bad about passing on it, to be honest, because I think that he's shown enough valid question marks that you don't take. Like Jim said, the positional value, he's my QB4. That's fine if you think your QB4 is better than anyone here, or if you think that Cam Newton or Jarrett Stidham are combined so bad that they're going to ruin this season and Mac Jones will be better than both of them, then that's fine argument. I don't believe that, so I'm not going to just take quarterback because of the positional value here. I think that's how bad teams stay bad.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're coming from there, but also in terms of kind of the depth at the 3 positions we've talked about, quarterback, linebacker, wide receiver, there's good linebacker depth and there's great wide receiver depth in this draft. I think you can I think you can get super, like, really solid players in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th rounds. You're not getting anybody good enough to compete for a starting job after Mac Jones in my eyes. So
that's fair.
And I think we can all agree that they don't have an option past this year on the roster, and they need
Right.
to roster one.
So here's my counter to that, and then we'll get they might. Here's my counter to that and then we'll make this actual pick. Mac Jones, he's the last like real clear cut chance to become a long-term starter. And he'll probably be a good start, or at least a decent starter at the NFL level. But if that's what you get at 15 is a long-term decent starter, maybe wins you a playoff game every couple of years or something like that. Like, is that worth it? Even though that's probably technically a hit, is that worth it? Versus, there's no long-term answer yet on the roster right now, but maybe Cam ends up, reviving enough that he gets 2 more years. Maybe Jarrett Stidham takes a 3rd-year leap and you're getting to look at what he is. Maybe they're both terrible, and now you're looking at the quarterback class next year, which right now doesn't look as good, but someone could emerge throughout the draft season. You're basically saying, would I rather, if you're playing blackjack, to me, Mac Jones is like standing pat at like a 15 versus, taking the hit and seeing if you can get that 6 from one of any other option.
This is my take too, and we'll make the pick after, but if they don't take a quarterback on the first day, even the second day of the draft, I think it tells you 3 things. It's they're willing to go year to year with Cam, something that they wanted to do with Brady, given his age and contract situation. Yeah. He obviously wasn't willing to do. Cam will at this point in his career, because he'll take what he can get. 2, right. I think maybe they're, like you said, they're trying to punt this QB of the future thing another year down the road, kind of kick that can. And 3, maybe Jarrett Stidham's future is a little bit brighter than the media poses, and they're willing to give him another chance with a normal offseason. I think those 3 things are something you can read into if this situation were to arise and they passed on him.
I mean, make no mistake about it. If Jarrett Stidham shows out in training camp, they're not going to cut him just because they have this preconceived thing from last year, or whatever. If he shows up and he'll
win the job.
Yeah, if he can win the job, he's going to win. They're going to give it to him. So. Right. But I think it's just, you could say that about any quarterback. I don't think Bill Belichick's not going to not make his team better for some idiotic talk show reasoning. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. My vote is for Mac Jones here. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. I want to settle one thing too, just to set the boundaries for what we're doing. Are we picking based on what we think they're going to do, or what we would do each pick? I'm operating under what I would do personally, right?
Yeah,
that's how we're going to handle this. All right, just establish that for the chat.
Next week we can put our GM hats on.
That works. And then I want to address this. I am looking for reasons not to draft Mac Jones, because I don't think Mac Jones is that good. It's not just take the quarterback because he's there. If there's a quarterback there at 15, first of all, there's probably something wrong with him where he really should be a 2nd-round pick, except that he's a quarterback. And second of all, even if you're not picking 15th next year, you can trade up and spend assets to get up, because this year, if they want a top-tier guy, they're still going to need to do that from 15. 15 isn't like a take the quarterback because he's a top-tier guy and you're not going to be here next year. They could easily be picking 15th again next year if the quarterback situation doesn't shake out. And Studio Jim thinks that the NFL is much higher on Jones than draft order, which we'll find out on draft night because there's so much smoke right now. It's impossible to tell. Okay. Keegan, you voted Mac Jones. My vote's going to be for Rashad Bateman. Spags, where are you going here? If you go Zaven Collins, I'll change my vote with you. But
I'm going to go Mac. I'll go Mac. I'll stick to my guns.
All right.
Brian's going to have an aneurysm.
That's a win, baby.
It's fine. If they don't have to trade, if they're not trading up for Mac.
Brian's you're talking yourself into it right now, because it's almost in round 1 and it's like 11 o'clock at night. You'll sleep well.
Yeah. If they don't have to trade assets for Mac Jones, I can find a way to live with it. That ringing is scaring me every single time. If they don't have to, your guy right before us, Spags. If they don't have to trade assets for Mac Jones, I can talk myself into it by the end of the day.
That's high, by the way, for Javon Holland. I know Spags loves him, but that is, that's one of those.
And, Ryan Jackson's throwing a fit here. Okay, so just recap.
We almost won him. I was for it. He was 1A, 1B for me.
I'm not going to read off every single name here, but we'll highlight some of them. Caleb Farley, Michael Parsons go. Dolphins take Jalen Phillips. Rashad Bateman, 20 to the Bears, which is something we've done a bunch. Elijah Moore to the Titans. That's a fun fit, too.
Newsom to the Colts, we've done.
Edge 1.
Yep. Naji Harris. Sorry, first running back. So let's talk about RB1 Naji Harris. And I'm going to start with Spags here. What do you think of Naji?
Yeah, I think he is the best running back in the class. And I love Travis Etienne. I just think when you look at running back, somebody that can handle that 3-down load, I think Harris is his body's built for that. He obviously him and Etienne, I think, held out last year because I don't think they would have snuck in the first round last year with how high Carlos CEH went. Who else went in the first round? Anyone else?
No, just him.
That was him, right? So
yep.
Yeah, I think you can't go wrong with a Bama back either. And what he did this year he's a freak. I think that's a guy who, I think his receiving game doesn't get talked about as much. Like everyone thinks he's a between the tackles guy, but where did he go? What team was it Pittsburgh?
Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I think that makes a ton of sense. Like
spot, yeah.
That's probably where he ends up. I think it's him or Etienne. I think whoever you have as your RB1, you can talk me into it. But if I'm making a pick, the first one off the board, it's Harris, just because of the workload he can handle, the body type, and just where he's coming from. He's built out of a lab, went to Bama.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree fully. And the way I would look at running backs, especially this year, between Harris and Etienne, it's kind of just the fit. What does the offense do? The Steelers aren't going to be whipping the ball to the running back from the backfield a whole ton. Like, they don't really throw to the backside of the backfield. So like Spags was saying, he's a guy who can kind of handle a heavy load. They need offensive linemen. They need somebody to block for him, but he's a better option. That was tough. Sorry. They need an option who can kind of run between the tackles. And I think he's a little bit better of a guy than Etienne is there, right now where they stand as prospects.
Yeah. And Mark Morris, your guy, went 22 here to the Titans, unfortunately. I like Elijah Moore to the Patriots a lot, too.
I want to bring this, not that we're going backwards here, but this is something I was talking about. I guess I probably should have brought this up at 15, but my 2 cents. Is he really an upgrade over him?
Spags?
Do you guys think?
Spags, I'm with you. Mac Jones, in a perfect world, is
Let's start this over. I don't want him anymore.
Mac Jones in a perfect world, like, is a comparable. I think he's a better prospect than Jarrett Stidham was.
Yeah, of course.
If you're talking about like a year 3 Jarrett Stidham versus a year 1 Mac Jones, I think you're getting pretty much the same thing. Yeah. If I had to bet on one having a better career, it's Mac Jones, but I would much rather take Mac Jones like late round 2, early round 3, which if they took Stidham there, obviously he went round 4. If they took Stidham early round 3, I'm not complaining about it either. Yeah. He's better than Stidham. He's better than Stidham.
Yeah, of course. I'm just saying
he's not better enough than Stidham where I'm taking him 15.
You guys are going to make me defend this pick, and I don't want to. I'm not happy about the pick. Like,
you guys can tell I'm slowly coming out of the weeds, getting ready for next Thursday and Friday when they don't take a quarterback. I'm going to come out guns blazing
the first
like last year.
Stidham jersey right on.
Yeah, it'll come right.
Remember when they were selling those? Like,
it'll come out of the fireplace.
Tough. The first 14 picks went about as bad as they could possibly go for the Patriots in this mock right here. I mean, they got kind of shafted. That's why we had to go with Mac Jones. I'm not happy with it at all, but I think he was the best option available, with what we're doing today. So I'll say that. I don't want people thinking I'm like a Mac Jones truther. I think he's going to be good or anything like that.
All right. I want to get to my Naji Harris thoughts, but just last, he looks cleaner on tape.
Put Jarrett Stidham with those Alabama receivers and in that scheme, and it's probably a similar.
I would also say that Mac Jones looks a lot cleaner than Stidham because Mac Jones' strength comes in his accuracy, where Stidham's strength comes in his actual tool set. Like, Jarrett Stidham can outthrow Mac Jones all day. Mac Jones will just actually hit the targets, and Jarrett Stidham's going to hit the turf and the cornerback 4 out of 10 times.
Throwing ducks.
Right.
He made Jamal Adams look like a comparable coverage safety. That's that's tough.
Right. So I think that if you're just looking, aesthetically, yes, Mac Jones looks a lot cleaner. But as if you're weighing the pros and cons of each end, Jarrett Stidham's the type of guy I'd bet on over Mac Jones. But again, Mac Jones is better. Anyway, Naji Harris. I'll go quick because we got sidetracked there. Also, my running back 1. Absolutely love him. Think he's a stud. Think if he ends up in Buffalo, I might cry, even though a first round running back pick isn't the scariest thing. But that's just playing Buffalo in like December in the cold, and you just have to deal with Naji 25 times a game and Josh Allen like running 7 times a game, and then those receivers. Would be disgusting. He's my running back 1. I like Etienne a lot, but he's somewhat comfortably my running back 1. His passing chops get overlooked. I think one of you mentioned that when we were talking about it. He's pretty close to the complete deal. huge Naji fan. I think he's going to be the best Bama running back that's come out of the past decade, 15 years, however long this
You're forgetting about Derrick Henry.
I am forgetting about Derrick Henry a little bit.
I don't want somebody to.
I think that is comparable. I think that is comparable. I don't think that the volume that Derrick Henry gets obviously is what puts him over the top. But if you're talking about like as a full threat, Naji I think can be right there. I did forget Derrick Henry in the moment, but I'm still not backing off of the take. I think
a lot of people forget Henry was a second-round pick. Like he wasn't as good of a prospect. We look back and we're like, what the hell? This guy's a defensive end who runs like a running back, but he was a second-round pick. Naji's comfortably a first-round guy, except for the fact that where we are in 2021, there are no first-round running backs. But I think he's a better prospect.
Yeah, I agree. And one more side note: the Cowboys would have been so much better off with Jalen Ramsey and Derrick Henry versus Zeke and whoever they went round 2 that year. Anyway, okay, we'll keep going. Elijah Moore was 22. Naji Harris was 24. Our guy Christian Barmore goes 26. Kwity Paye 27. Young Jock 29 after Zeven Collins goes 28. Jermaine Davis and Joe Tryon, a couple of fan favorites in this show, sneak into the first round. We're on to round 2. Trevon Moehrig falls to the second round to the Jets. Travis Etienne 36 to the Dolphins. Here we go. I like this fit a lot.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I would say there or Tampa. Even though Tampa did just sign Gio Bernard, so they're probably not in the market for one. Mm-hmm. But I think outside of that, Miami's a great fit. Like I said, he can you can have him as your RB1. I mean, what that kid did in college, you hear everything about. They did a draft special on him, and they said he probably said 10 words at Clemson. He's just a guy just to give me the ball and I'll go score. The question is, he did weigh in a little bit. Can he handle the workload? Is he a 3-down back? That'll be yet to be seen. But I think the explosiveness, he can run inside the tackles, run outside, and he's obviously a threat in the passing game. He might be the most complete back. And maybe the one that's, that big play ability where Harris can rack some off, but he's going to be able to pick up 4 or 5 yards every time. Etienne's got that home run speed that can turn, nothing into 6. So I love Travis Etienne. Every time I watch Clemson for the last 4 years, he's just electric.
He's a special teams guy too. I mean, he's going to go like run down kicks. He's a stud. He's, like you said, he's kind of one of those guys. You just throw him out there and kind of let him play football. And it's a perfect spot to the Dolphins. They've got 3 picks in the top 36. Those are the kinds of teams that should be taking running backs early just because they have the capital to kind of be able to take a swing. And I think they took Jalen Phillips as well. So
it's a big innuendo night here.
Yeah, it's been a tough night for me and Specs.
Yeah. Etienne, I mean, Etienne's RB2. I honestly didn't do a great job prepping for the running backs tonight. Etienne and Harris are the only ones I have firm takes on. I've seen the UNC guys, stuff like that. But Etienne's my running back too. Home run hitter, can step in the pass game early on. I think Naji Harris is going to hold up a little bit better in the NFL, not just because he's bigger, but just I think his game is more well-rounded.
Yes, he did, by the way.
Yeah. So Etienne's still a stud. That would be a really good pick for the Dolphins. Moving on, we have Baron Browning went 40 to the Broncos. If he's there at 40 and they maybe trade back from 15 to pick up assets, I'm trading up there to get Baron Browning. I don't care. Mm-hmm. Terrace Marshall, 41. They get Patrick Surtain at 7 and Terrace Marshall at 41. That's a steal for the Lions. That's a great draft. And then we get to Javonte Williams here at 43. I think the consensus RB3 right now, but he's also pushing RB2, RB1. What do you guys think about Javonte?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I didn't read too much into the running backs outside the top 2 just because it's not a need for the Patriots.
Right.
But everything you see about him, that's a guy who's a sleeper day 2 pick that can come in and be a horse, day 1 for any team. I think another guy who can, handle the workload, catch the ball in the backfield. And then obviously Michael Carter, his teammate at UNC, is another guy that, a little bit of a different runner, but I think should hear his name called, late round 2, early day or round 3.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of either of the UNC guys just because I don't like guys that kind of had a platoon at the college level. And, you look back.
Josh Jacobs says hello.
And Damian Harris. Yeah, you look back and both those guys are studs. But I don't think either one of them kind of got a fair shot to really show what they could do when they're getting the full. I almost said it again. When they're getting the bulk of the carries for for their team. Neither one of them got more than 15 carries a game. So if you throw him out there 25 carries a game, is he going to be able to handle it? I don't know. And like we talk about with running backs, I'm not a huge fan of taking them early anyways. I think it's a big time reach, but that's what the 49ers kind of felt like they needed, I guess, in the second round. I don't think that's the pick in real life, but I'm not a huge fan of either one of those guys, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of takes on most of these running backs. I have a couple guys on like day 2, day 3 that we might talk about for the Patriots specifically, but yeah, I don't have a ton of stuff to add here. Javon Holland goes 45 to the Jaguars, Spags guy, and that takes us up to the Patriots. So let's see who's on the board here a little bit. We've got
Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's available.
Yeah,
imagine if they went quarterback, wide receiver at 15-46, like something they'd never do. It'd be insane.
They at least seem to be. The Draft Network at least seems to think that Amon-Ra St. Brown is slipping a little bit. I know he didn't test like crazy at his pro day.
That's his problem, but I think that's kind of one of the when you're looking at guys who are going to play in the slot, I don't care if they can run a great 40. Like all his stuff is comparable to Edelman, so I'll take it. I'm high on him.
Yeah,
but
I'm wondering if we want to try to maybe play the board a little bit. I know we have this huge gap of picks now where he might not be there at 96. So if we want him, we probably should reach here.
I like Eichenberg just because
I was going to say I think here the best place to go is tackle. You need to set up for the future.
Yep.
You need to you don't have anybody signed on past next year except for Justin Herron. So.
And everybody knows Notre Dame. They're probably offensive line. They get their guys ready to go. So I think Eichenberg's a pick here.
Is that what you're going to? Okay, I've already been outvoted. I would have thrown up Carlos Basham just because he's Patriots defensive end.
Yep.
And I think that a young, long-term kind of like 5 tech is still something they need. Henry Anderson's on what did he get? 2 years, 1 year, and he's a bit older anyway. That I think that they could be looking at kind of that next 5 tech that can do a little bit of everything.
When I said they don't have guys signed on, if you move to Onwenu, then you need a guard. So it's the same situation. You need somebody. Yeah. So I've been outvoted. So it's Liam Eichenberg. I'm fine with that too. I think offensive line, as I mentioned at 15, if it's gonna let me show it, but Elijah Vera Tucker went the pick before the Patriots, and Christian Darrisaw went the pick before him. If either of them were on the board at 15, they would have been my pick. I think running back is my God. I don't like that. That they would have been my picks at 15 if they were there. So I'm completely fine with going to well and not to. Big gap here, so we're gonna have a lot to review. Oh my God, that's gross. Just triggering, Ryan.
Yeah. My dog makes her first proper appearance. All right.
I see Davis Mills is available if we want to double dip at quarterback.
Double dip at QB.
The what's it called? Right. The Kyle Shanahan approach.
Yeah.
All right. So let's go through some of the highlights. Landon Dickerson, Creed Humphrey were other offensive linemen, and Dylan Radins all back to back. Grady Christensen pick later. Jalen Mayfield. These are all guys we could have gone instead of Eichenberg. We kind of kick off a run on offensive line here. Rondell Moore.
That's what you want
for the Colts. That's 2 different teams where I think going cornerback instead of wide receiver early with the Lions and the Colts, and then doubling back on round 2 wide receiver looks a lot better for them. Marshall and now Rondell Moore. I like that a lot for both teams. Carlos Basham is going 57.
On this thought, Notre Dame has been bad. That's why he doesn't draft Notre Dame guys. They just haven't been good. But now that they're good again, I'm sure he'll draft one eventually.
And Chip's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Brian. Brian. Yeah. Chip was UCLA. That's why I asked Cassie's here. Yeah.
Amari Rogers, 58. Diami Brown, I don't know if I'm saying that right, 59. Peyton Turner's been picking up steam, 60. Nico Collins, 62. Davion Nixon, Keegan's guy, goes 63. Tommy Togi, not going to pronounce it.
Togi, yeah.
Yeah, 64. We're into round 3 now. Gray Russo falls all the way to the 3rd round. Nick Bolton's here. Even in round 3, I hard pass on Nick Bolton. I think I'm out on him.
Me too.
He's not even on the board.
Yeah, Jabril Cox, Spags guy. I saw it today, jumping back to Bolton real quick. Phil Perry said that other than maybe being like a fraction short, he fits the prototype for Patriots linebackers. So that's
He's downhill thumper,
Yeah.
run stuffer. He's like a better.
You have Jawan Bentley on the roster, like right now.
Yeah, literally him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Pat's guy.
Chaz Surratt, a little bit higher on him. Dwayne Eskridge goes 74. Would have been a nice infusion of speed. Amon-Ra St. Brown goes pretty much right at his projection, 76. I think he was listed 75. Joseph Osai, someone I would have thrown out if he was there at 96 here. Quinn Miners, another offensive lineman. Dolphins get Brevin Jordan. Tylan Wallace goes to the Jets. Tutu, I was like, who the hell is Chatarius? Tutu Atwell, who is literally lighter than
49.
I am and my height, goes 93. Frank Darby, and a little wide receiver run here. Seth, do you guys remember when Seth Williams was like a future like first round top 10 type prospect as like a true freshman sophomore?
Dude, that was like the beginning of this football season. People thought he was going to be a first round pick, and then he dropped everything.
Yeah. But I mean, that type of pedigree, round 3 to Tom Brady, with Tom Brady thrown to him. All right, so 96 Patriots were on the board here. First 2 picks, in case you missed them: Mac Jones, Liam Eichenberg. I would be pretty meh on this draft to this point. Nothing to like really complain about, but nothing to get excited about either. This would be like a C+ to this point. So let's see if we can turn it around.
This is a Patriots draft.
It is
exactly what they do. Let's
see if we can turn around. I know Spags, you were talking today about like the guys who write off Stidham for being a 4th round pick still want Kellen Mond. I would take Kellen Mond at 96 before Mac Jones at 15 still, if they were going to go a guy here. But let's talk about
against them. He's not that good.
Let's talk about who they might take here.
Another 5-star out of high school that
transferred to IMG, and then I mean, he's the kind of guy. I don't want to get like too deep in the weeds on 4th round quarterbacks, but he's the guy who could beat Alabama but would lose by 40 to Mississippi State. Like,
right.
The inconsistency is disgusting.
You just described a quarterback on the roster because he did exactly that
a
couple times.
All right, so on the board right now, I'm pretty far down at this point, but we've got like Dylan Moses is someone that would just permanently needs to be watched out for.
Do you think we'd look at a position specific? Like, I'm thinking wide receiver here.
Same.
Yeah, let's look at the wide receivers. It was a pretty big run. We'd have to reach pretty heavily at this point.
I like Daz Newsome, but not at 96. He's more.
Yeah, I think he's like
has some pretty big fans, but I don't think any of them are even talking like higher than right here. Yeah, we
Draft Network has some wonky.
Look at edge and linebacker. I think this is the route here.
Golden Knight, these were our picks. Liam Eichenberg goes offensive tackle. So I would say the Patriots are in that kind of luxury spot where they can kind of just go best player available on their board. But this is why I'd want to go. I think linebacker and wide receiver, if you're not picking a quarterback in round 1, which they should be, but if you're not going quarterback round 1, I want linebacker, wide receiver round 1, round 2, and then you go from there. Just because this gap is so big and those runs are going to, like, you can pass on one round 1, but you're not going to get another one in 96. So unless you're trading back, filling in that gap, which is something that they should be doing, you're not getting one of each of those. That's like a legit prospect. So that was, I should have kind of brought that up in real time, but that would have been part of my argument here at 15 for Zaven Collins, Rashad Bateman. Then you circle back to the other position round 2. But I mean, you could look at like a Kenneth Gainwell if we're looking for, to fill in some of those running back snaps.
Did we look at linebackers?
Linebacker we haven't looked at yet, but it's not a whole lot. Again, Derrick Barnes, Dylan Moses.
I love Derrick Barnes. I do like him, but little.
I don't know who that is. Where did he go?
Purdue.
Oh, okay.
We could double dip.
Bentley.
Could double dip at offensive line, go on the interior this time.
I think look at edge. Let's take an edge guy.
We got Jordan Smith, Ellerson Smith.
Before we even look, Ellerson Smith feels like a Patriots guy. He's
like 6'8", right? 6'7".
Ginormous. Probably the most raw kind of player in the draft. Like I don't think he knows how to play the position really all that well. But who better to have coach him up than Belichick and kind of teach him how to play the position? All the physical stuff is there.
All right.
I'm in on Smith.
All right. Ellerson Smith is the pick at 96. So get rid of the edges here. we're gonna have these almost back-to-back picks coming up in a second. Here.
Allison Smith. Everybody talked about Quinn Miners, how he had a great Senior Bowl. Allison Smith put him on his ass and broke his thumb. So that's who did that to Quinn Miners.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. Nothing really too interesting. Kellen Mond goes to the Lions at 101. That I'm loving the Lions draft. Would they end up going early round 3? Chaz Surratt, yeah. So they got Patrick Surtain, Terrace Marshall,
great
Chaz
draft.
Surratt, and Kellen Mond.
It's because you guys are wearing baby blue hats. That's why.
Yeah.
Shout out the UCLA Red Sox.
Shout out the 90s Penguins.
All right. So Michael Carter, here we go. 107 to the Jets. What do you guys think of Michael Carter? I know
I'm not. Yeah.
Yeah, Keegan.
My opinion's as
fan.
good. Yeah, my opinion's as good as the next guy's. I don't know too much about him.
I'll say this about Michael Carter: if you want a guy who knows how to run a wheel route, you want Michael Carter. That guy, he's up the field in like a half a second. I've never seen somebody run the wheel route as fast as him. The guy can move. So, I just don't know about the Jets. Like, what is that fit? Like, what is he going to do for them that they can't just get out of a veteran guy that you go pick up off the street? I don't know what he does more than them.
Yeah. Like I said, I've seen a decent amount of Twitter clips of the two UNC running backs. I don't have strong takes. So Keegan's gonna carry us home right now.
I'm learning that I hate running backs now that we're doing this. Like, I just don't like any of them.
I love running backs. I don't know about this class, but running backs are. I played running back. Running back's my first love. I would love.
I'm going
kind of cycle back into being more run heavy.
I don't know if he's available. Oh, he is. I think right here. Not to jump ahead,
Go for
but 120. We're at Derrick Barnes is a pick for me. I know you said you don't do too much about him. That's kind of your middle linebacker, an upgrade over Juwan Bentley. Similar kind of story, was like a 3-year captain for them.
He's an outside guy more than Bentley was, right? Like he played a little bit on the edge,
but he's big enough to play in the middle. I think that's a decent pick for the value there. I really like him. I think he's going to be a really good pick for somebody on day 3.
Can I make an argument to wait? So if we look at the top guys here, we have Derrick Barnes, Dylan Moses, who we mentioned has to be on the Pats radar. They pick again in 2 picks. If we go somewhere else, you guarantee one of them. I think we maybe go a different direction here, and then that's fine. We take Derrick Barnes. If he somehow goes to the Raiders here, then we just take Dylan Moses.
Fine.
You guys on board with that?
Yep. Who were you thinking?
I'm thinking maybe a running back here.
Trey Sermon.
Mid-round 4. I like Ramondre Stevenson a little bit. He is someone that I've seen a little bit of. Kenneth Gainwell is an interesting guy as well, and I like Trey Sermon too.
I know like the idea that a lot of people have been third down backs, but if you really kind of look at just the total of what they have at running back right now, they've got Sony he's gone after this year. They're not picking up the option.
Nope.
Brandon Bolden's gone after this year. They're not going to re-sign a 32-year-old running back. They didn't re-sign Rex Burkhead. They need somebody who can carry the ball.
Rex Burkhead ends up back in by training camp, to be honest. But
okay,
he's still working on the facility.
They need that flex backup that Burkhead is, where he can
change of pace.
Yeah, you bring him in and he's a change of pace, gives him a breather, and it doesn't spell out what they're going to do.
Sermon's a little bigger guy.
I think Sermon's a better option than Stevenson at that spot, just because Stevenson's a hoss. Like, he's bigger than Sermon is.
Trey Sermon's he put on weight at Ohio State and still ran really hard. Obviously, he got hurt in that national championship game. I think that really hurt him. I like his game. I really like Sermon RB4
as well.
for me. Just from what I've seen, I like Trey Sermon here at 120 if we're going to go running back, which I think is the right place to take a running back, to be honest with you.
I'm cool with Sermon. If I had a vote, I would go Gainwell, just because I don't scout the player, not the element, but Memphis running backs have been on a tear.
Yeah,
like it's year after year after year, pumping them out.
Tony Pollard.
There's Darrell Henderson. Hasn't had quite that level of success, but still solid player.
Noted Tony Pollard over Zeke guy, Ryan Kieran.
Yeah, he's just more explosive. That's all there is to it. So my vote would be Kenneth Gainwell, but I like Trey Sermon. I like taking pedigree guys at running back, especially if they're slipping like this, because running back's a position that there is a lot of nuance to it that I won't get into, but in general, you can kind of carry over. Like even if someone didn't have a great college career, if they were a top high school recruit, a lot of times they'll find some value in the NFL. So I'm cool with Trey Sermon here. Let's go with him.
Wrong one. Just on this, Sean Wade is a safety. If somebody plays him at corner at the next level, it's gonna be a waste of a pick. He's a safety. So if you're looking for a corner, I don't think he's the guy.
Osa Odigizua goes in between. Fun fact, my very first ever draft prospect watch was Oa Odigizua back in 2014. And of course, because he was the first person I ever watched, I was in love with him and thought he was going to be a stud, and then he couldn't stay healthy. Unfortunate. So shout out Osa. Hope he has a good career. But Derrick Barnes doesn't go at 121, so we're going to take him at 122, right? Lock it in.
I'm in for it. Yep.
All right.
Flying through this.
Kobe Stevens goes at 124. Kyle Trask for the Vikings.
I think here we look corner. Obviously, you'd probably like to go a little early with the uncertainty between your top two guys, but I'm interested if Keith Taylor Jr. out of Washington's available here. He is. That's the guy right there. He had a B senior bowl week. He's the pick for me at corner. I think he needs.
Like Ryan was saying with Memphis running backs, Washington corners, it's just like you're guaranteed something. Like you don't know what you're guaranteed.
Too, yeah. Elijah Molden.
Yeah, I mean, they got a guy undrafted last year, Miles Bryant, who played well, and he looks like he could probably take over that slot role. So
John Jones role, yeah. Keith Taylor Jr. is a pick for me. If you're unaware, watch his Senior Bowl week. Mature perimeter guy, a little bit longer. I think that's a pretty good developmental, and they smash that corner position. Their evaluation of that position has been knocked out of the park. I mean, look at J.C. Jackson, obviously undrafted, John Jones undrafted, Miles Bryant undrafted. I will say, if you're looking for a guy who can take over for either Jackson or Gilmore, one of them's probably gone. I think Thomas is a better option. But if you're in love with Taylor Jr., then I wouldn't fight it.
Also, quick side note: I didn't even had completely forgotten about Chuba Hubbard. Talk about someone who should have come out last year. That's a bummer. Yeah, I haven't seen either of these guys, so I'm unfortunately not going to be a tiebreaker if you guys are split here. The chat seems to be more in on Thomas than Taylor.
We'll go Thomas then.
I don't want to ruin your dream specs.
You said Thomas is more of a boundary guy and Taylor's more of a slot guy, right?
Yeah. He's like a man cover guy. Even though Michigan didn't run that defense, they let him kind of go out on an island, which I love because that's what they've done with Gilmore the past few years. So I think it's a better kind of scheme fit.
Spags, you want to fight for Taylor, or you?
No, let's go Emory Thomas.
Emory Thomas, okay. I'm seeing a lot. If he's a good zone corner, doesn't play man.
They will draft the Michigan guy too. They always do.
Yeah,
so
that's the good zone corner who doesn't play, who needs to work on man. Typically, is the guy I try to stay from. Yeah, and Belichick does too. But round 4, you're not finding too many like lockdown man guys anymore. So
they'll just find them after because they're all their corners are undrafted.
Exactly. All right. So in between, we didn't even really review who went in between those picks.
Just some guy from Louisiana Tech that's going to come out and get like 9 interceptions. Sorry, I couldn't help myself.
Dylan Moses goes 140. Amir Smith-Marset. We didn't end up going wide receiver yet, right? Yeah, we haven't gone wide receiver. That might have been a good place to take a look there, but
I think this is a good spot.
Let's see. Kenneth Gainwell goes 150. We talked about him a little bit. We talked about Ramondre Stevenson a little bit, 152. Des Fitzpatrick. There's Chuba Hubbard. Again, could have been like pushing for early round 2 last year. I don't even know what he did this year to fall so hard. I don't know if he got hurt or what, but that's a tough look. That's a good spot for the Bills. The Jets ended up with 1, the Dolphins ended up with 1, and now the Bills ended up with 1. So the whole AFC East has new running backs in the mix now. Kylan Hill, Javian Hawkins. Either of you guys Hawkins fans? I know he has some big draft Twitter love.
He's tiny too, like Atwell.
He's just so tiny.
Yeah, both of them. I mean, that's Atwell's what Louisville does.
I was gonna say Atwell's a Louisville guy too, right?
I mean, they even do it with their quarterbacks. Like the kid after Lamar Jackson was short. Like they kind of just get athletes from Florida. So I don't hate it. If you come from Dade County and you play running back or wide receiver, I'll take a shot.
All right, let's see. Let's keep moving here. Khalil Herbert. I don't know anything about him, to be honest.
He's another tiny, like third down, change of pace guy.
Yeah.
A lot of those guys. Rashad Weaver has gotten a little bit of hype at 175 here. All right, we got a good. This is a good wide receiver spot.
Or
We
Seth
got
Williams, I guess.
got Daz Newsome here,
Sorry,
Josh Palmer, Shi Smith. Josh, not going to pronounce that last name. He had a pretty good pro day. I think Demetric Felton's still here.
A lot of other draft sites are high on Josh Palmer. That's a guy who can separate. Had a really good Senior Bowl week. Just had terrible coaching and quarterback play at Tennessee. I really like Daz Newsome here. I think that's a guy who can separate with his speed. Really good after the catch.
I'm a big Shi Smith fan. I don't know a lot. I don't know too much about. I know Cornell Powell, decent amount. I know Felton, decent amount.
Another guy too.
Shi. Spags, I'm willing to go Newsome here because that's your guy, and we overruled you on your guy last pick. I'm good with going Newsome here.
Hey, Newsome's my guy too, so I think all three of us like that.
There we go. Yeah, 5'11".
I mentioned. I wrote the profile on him for Pat's Pulpit, and I mentioned Edelman a ton in it just because when you watch him, he's got that like crazy person on the field thing where he doesn't care about his own body. He'll just do whatever it takes. So I love it.
I'm with it. All right. The best name in the draft goes off the board right here. Rashad Boggs Jr. Jamar Jefferson, any takes on him? No. All right, cool. No. Jamie Newman ends up going to the Falcons. Nothing else too interesting. Chris Evans, another running back, Captain America. Any thoughts there?
You don't like Captain America? I'm a big Captain America guy.
I love Chris Evans. I don't like Captain America though.
Captain America is just he is Chris Evans. They embody each other.
He is whatever that dude's name is now in Falcon Winter Soldier, and that guy stinks.
That guy. It's a tough look.
I won't spoil anything, but I mean, just look at his face, and he stinks.
Yeah,
Captain America ugly.
Tough to double dip here too, but I don't know if he's available. I would love Jalen Darden here.
I was gonna say I was gonna throw out double dipping at wide receiver here. It kind of makes the room pretty deep.
I did a thread on Jalen Darden. That's a guy he had like 20 touchdowns this year. Like the only receiver had a better year than him was Devontae Smith. Obviously, he has the factor in the competition, but
he has a Division I record for most touchdowns by a wide receiver.
Yeah, he's electric. Small school guy, obviously, and he came into college at like 140. And just I think he put on like 25, 30 pounds and still kept that inside. I don't know what he ran at his pro day, but that's a late round guy that can, make an NFL team and make a difference, kind of like a Darnell Mooney last year.
Yeah, he was
electric speed.
He was a track guy coming out of high school. I think he only played football his senior year. I think he won the state championship out of Dallas. The Texas State Championship in track, and he got a scholarship to play.
He's a big board guy, and I don't think we picked anybody on our big board yet. So I'm for Darden.
GoldenEye. I was gonna say the same thing, and luckily for the sake of Spags,
Aguayo's going to save it.
There is the Draft Network doesn't let you draft pickers, so or punters.
Don't let people tell you that 5th round pick is smart for spending it on a kicker because it's like
punters. That's a different story.
85% of the league is undrafted. Justin Tucker is undrafted.
All right. Punters. So I'm sorry.
Every time you hit once in a while.
Here, Jalen Darden.
Jalen Darden, if he's available.
Let's see if he's. He's there. All right, I'm good with it. I would have thrown out again Shi Smith, but pretty deep wide receiver room now. The 2 rookies that we just brought in, obviously you got Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, Nikhil, Jacoby.
I like Shi Smith, but I don't think there's a spot for him and Daz Newsome. They're very similar.
That's
what I was saying in general, but I missed him we have to take Jalen Darden.
Yeah, and we went Darden. Nothing too. Josh Palmer ends up going off the board to the Texans.
Where do we go here? We got 2 picks left.
Maybe go.
If we want to go Belichick, then Avery Williams is the pick. Best special teams player in the history.
I was going to say, is that the special teams guy?
All right, let's send it in right there. We'll send it in. Avery Williams.
He's got 9 return touchdowns, 4 blocks, kicks / punts.
Yeah,
and he led the Mountain West in tackles all 3 years he played. So
yeah, easy pick there then. I'd round it out with Ben Mason here. I know you guys wouldn't do that, but I'll do it.
Hey, Jakob Johnson's on a 1-year deal, and that European restricted, whatever that is, where it doesn't count against your
expires, right?
It expires after this year, I believe, or
It
just
already expired.
It's already expired.
Yeah, he's on the
So-
roster.
I mean, do you know how much they value the fullback? Now, did they spend it on a 3rd-round pick with Dalton Keene last year? That's yet to be seen. But
I wrote a whole profile on Ben Mason, and I got crucified in the comments. So
I'm
whoever,
gonna be honest. Sorry to cut you off, Keegan.
that's all right.
Can I just this pick makes no sense given how we've gone tonight. There's a man in this draft named Whop Fillier. Can I please just take him? Can I please?
Dude,
just
Whop
take him?
Fillier is a baller. He's good.
triple dipping at wide receiver.
Please.
You want to know why they call him Whop Fillier?
Yes.
So his name's Antonio, I believe. And his mom, when he was like 7 years old, every day when she'd pick him up from school and drive him back, they drive by a Burger King, and he would throw a fit until he bought him a Whopper. And he ate she estimated that he ate a Whopper every day for 3 years. That's why they call him Whop.
Elite. That's elite. All right.
Great
In reality, maybe a safety would make sense here.
Is Caden Stearns available?
Let's see. Stearns. Did I spell his name right?
Sterns.
CERN.
He's probably not. He's like a 5th round guy.
Yeah, looks like he went off the board.
All right.
Could double dip at edge.
Could get Sam Ellinger. Another flip
Could
him
double
over
dip
to
at quarterback. Felipe Franks. Get
Oh my God.
Nice little QB tight end hybrid prospect. Ian Book.
Johnny Football 2.0. Did we look at the safety prospects that were available?
Yeah,
Or
let's
did we
look at who's there. If no one stands out, the chat really wants Ben Mason. I think we give it to him, unless someone stands out as safety here for you guys.
I mean, we
Lamont Wade,
haven't
I
given
know
them
that
a
name.
pick yet.
We haven't
So-
given them a pick. All right, let's give him Ben Mason. We'll give him Ben
Is
Mason.
that Nick
Dan
Pickett?
Marino. Fuck it, send it in. Ben Mason.
Anything interesting to try to finish this up?
Carrie Angeline, I think I talked to you. You asked us about tight
We
ends.
can't take a kicker, Pat. They don't let you on draft.
Yeah,
night.
they don't let you take
right.
kicker.
You're right.
Oh no, did this just freeze?
No, that's just the last pick in the draft, I think.
Yeah, but normally it
They haven't made it yet.
Shows you.
Yeah, it froze. No. All right. Well, let's fill this dead air and see if it fixes itself.
Yeah, I was gonna say about Carrie Angeline. You asked us about our favorite tight ends. There are 3 guys that are like 6'7", 6'8", and they just look ridiculous playing football, but they all have like 9-10 touchdowns a year. He's one of those guys.
Gotcha.
Him, like Tony Poljan, another guy. So I think those are all options because Bill does weird stuff
Noah
on
Gray.
day 3.
Massachusetts guy too.
All right. Unfortunately,
Noah Gray out of Duke. Massachusetts
right.
guy too.
unfortunately here it seems to have frozen, so we can't just get a nice clean look at our picks. So we're gonna have to scroll through all of this here.
Sweet.
Egan, do you want to? I know we've been keeping track, so do you want to write this down as I go?
Yes.
All right, so we'll just focus on the Patriots ones. Mac Jones was our pick at 15. Hotly debated. Spent a while on that one, but ultimately, I do think if you like one of the 5 quarterbacks and one falls in your lap, that's probably the path you got to go. Mac Jones was the pick at 15. Liam Eichenberg was the pick at 46, the offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. This kind of those first two, the trade-off there is, the two you could say most pressing needs of linebacker and wide receiver the value doesn't really end up being there in the next couple of rounds. So we had to kind of swing back to late round picks for that. But we take Allison Smith at 96, edge out of Northern Iowa. And then we take Trey Sermon, the running back out of Ohio State, formerly Oklahoma, in case the name sounds familiar, you're trying to figure out why, at 120. Come back a couple picks later with Derrick Barnes, the linebacker out of Purdue, at 122. And we keep going here. Ambry Thomas is our fourth round pick, cornerback out of Michigan.
Number was that?
139. And then we got Daz Newsome, wide receiver out of North Carolina, at 177, that potential Edelman replacement. Jalen Darden, double dipped on wide receivers at 188, wide receiver out of North Texas. Avery Williams, double dipped at corner here, really a special teams ace. Cornerback out of Boise State at 197. And then we finish off the draft with the best fullback in college football history, Ben Mason, out of Michigan at 242. Double dip on the Michigan guys as well. which has kind of been their pipeline lately after the Rutgers stretch. And now that's it. That's our first 7-round Patriots mock draft is in the books. Unfortunately, again, we don't get to kind of save it and see it all neat and clean here. I think there's something weird about when you have like a prospect search for and this ends up and then it's trying to finish. There's some just like a little weird bug in the code. I would agree, Studio Jim, very Belichickian draft. Not a whole lot to be super excited about, but probably a couple players in there that'll end up being long-term fit. Obviously, you hope Mac Jones, a stud quarterback. If this was the draft on draft night, what are you guys coming away with as like a general feeling, whether it's a grade
I'm like you. I hate the Mac Jones pick now. I can't believe I actually vouched for that. But I'd be happy. At least they
don't make me argue for it.
Hopefully they pick the right wide receivers this time. I like the tackle pick at 46. I think Eichenberg, that's pretty good value there. That's probably my favorite pick. But I mean, yeah, like you said, a very Belichickian like draft. Obviously next week we'll have some trade ups in there, whether that's round 1. We'll kind of feel out the board, see how things go, kind of draft as this was kind of to our liking, maybe lean more towards next week.
Next week we'll be trying to we'll be trying to accurately predict the draft, including trade up, stuff like that.
It's funny because we say this is to our liking, but it's a very Belichickian draft.
I was gonna say it's just to our liking, but I don't really like it all that much. I'd give it a C plus. I think again, you get positions that you kind of need to fill in, but you get it with guys that I'm not super excited about. Not super excited about Mac Jones. Not super excited about Liam Eichenberg. I don't know anything about Allison Smith. He seems like a Patriots guy. He would be my bet on draft night of this is the guy that is going to really kind of hold up this. Yeah,
like that night.
Yeah. Oh, don't get me started. But yeah, he would be kind of my bet as we look back in 3 years and it's like, oh, thank God they drafted Allison Smith out of this draft.
I mean, I think he's more of like a Trey Flowers than a Derrick Rivers. Like he doesn't weigh 87 pounds and have
no. It's more like they'll talk you into this was the best play. He's a second round talent. He's very raw, like they did when the Rivers pick came in.
Derrick Rivers was that was my heaviest draft year. I probably had 100+ player big board that year, and he was 15th for me. I was all in on Derrick Rivers. He was a stud at Youngstown, and then he just immediately disintegrated his knees at the NFL level and gained 40 pounds. They tried to make him a 5-tech instead of a hybrid stand-up edge. But yeah, I'd give us a C plus. You get some interesting names in the middle rounds, but it's really nothing super exciting.
Give us your grades if you guys are still in.
Yeah. Send in your grades before we get out of here. We'll look for some grades.
You up there.
Ian, what would you give it?
Me?
Yeah, if you're gonna grade it.
B. Solid B.
Yeah. Spags, final grade here if we were gonna
Studio Jim, what a guy.
C plus.
C plus.
C plus, and I was.
I thought you said D plus. I was like, damn, no,
C
that's
plus.
tough.
C plus.
Yeah, I think C plus would be. Which second round? I would have gone. Terrace Marshall was off the board. Let's look at who was there. That's kind of thing. I would have, if we had the benefit of hindsight there, I would have gone Rashad Bateman at 15, and then circled back to one of these linebackers. A perfect world for me is Rashad Bateman at 15 and Baron Browning at 46. If we're talking wide receiver linebacker, I would give it a C. B for Bill, B minus, C plus. Yeah, it's nothing to be super excited about, but you're probably getting a couple long-term pieces out of that, which is in the draft is plenty you could ask for.
I don't know if you guys watched Stanford's Pro Day, but Walker Little runs the funniest run I've ever seen in my life. He looks like Dwight from The Office.
Like Josh Allen. Allen.
Yeah, exactly.
Josh Allen's 40-yard came about on the TL today. And
have you seen the one where they lay over Mose from The Office, running with him? Oh, phenomenal.
All right, guys. I think that's going to do it for us tonight. A little bit of a shorter show tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We'll be back next Wednesday with another 7-round with trays. Again, we'll be predicting it'll be NFL Draft Eve. This was the penultimate episode of the mock draft show. And don't forget, Thursday night for round 1, we're going to be doing a live show. So if you guys have been enjoying this, even if you haven't been enjoying this, you just want to yell at us, or you just want something to do because you're watching the draft alone because it's still a pandemic out there, do not forget. Just hang out, and we're gonna be hanging out. We're gonna be having guests. We've got a pretty good guest list lined up. It's going to be a really chill thing. They're just going to hop in and out 10 minutes whenever they get a chance. We'll talk what we think the Patriots are going to do. We'll talk, reactions from what the rest of the teams do. It'll be a fun night, just a second screen experience. So we hope you guys will hang out for us there. And either way, we'll see you next Wednesday night. Thanks, guys. And real quick, Golden Knight, we won't be doing a day 2 live show. We'll just round 1.
Me and Ryan just don't have it in us. Sorry, guys.
It's round 1. You'll see. Round 1's going to be long enough. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, and we will see you on Wednesday.